What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Saw 3, written by Lee Winnell and once again directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. Now, Saw 3 tells the story of this character named Jeff, who is going on a journey to pretty much rid himself of a lot of grief and vengeance as he's on the as his series of tests is to confront people that were responsible for his son's death. While on the flip side, this doctor named Lynn has been called upon to pretty much give John Kramer an emergency brain surgery. All right, so yeah, that's the basic premise of Saw 3. I think Saw 3 is okay. I don't like Saw 3. Actually, no, correct. I'm going to correct myself. I like Saw 3 a little better than Saw 2. I think as an overall movie, I think Saw 3 had a little bit more interesting stuff going for it. But on the flip side, I think it has really, really dumb stuff as well. And a lot of characters that we're supposed to feel sympathy for, I find myself I find myself rooting against them and pretty much considering them to be just flat out moronic and just idiotic. So I'm not going to waste no time. Let's get right into this. Overall, I think the overall cast of this movie is actually pretty good. You know, the actor who played Jeff, the lead character, Angus McFadden, performance-wise, I thought he did a good job. You know, he really captured the whole, grieving father really, really well. I bought his emotions. I think his character is really, really sloppily written, and he's somebody who was supposed to be on this quest to rid himself of grief and to forgive those responsible for his son's death. But I never get the sense that he's genuine whenever he does that. We get flashbacks of him pretty much a taxi driver style, saying, "I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you," and when Jeff is meant to show some pathos, it doesn't work for me at all. The character of Jeff is really, really sloppily written. I'm not a big fan of this character. It's really a shame that this movie focused on Jeff because this movie picks up where the second movie left off, which is Eric Matthews, chained by the ankle. No, they got Donnie Wahlberg to come back, and instead of this movie, I don't know, focusing on Donnie Wahlberg's quest to try and continuing to find a way out of where he is, and instead he's taken out. He's taken out of the movie. We don't really see him again after the first 10 to 15 minutes of the prologue. We don't see him again. The characters of Kerry and Rig return, but Rig is in there for like 2.2 seconds. And Kerry, who was an established character from the first two movies, you would think that she is going to lead an investigation to try and find the whereabouts of Matthews. Instead, Kerry is killed off, unceremoniously killed off. Okay, why? That's what I got to say. Why? Like, at least have the character of Kerry do some investigation. Maybe that would have been too much story for this movie to handle. I mean, it already has two revolving subplots going on concurrently, which is Jeff's story and the whole and Jigsaw's story. To tell you the truth, the stuff with Jeff is not that interesting to begin with. And not only that, it's revealed that that Dr. Lynn is Jeff's wife. So you could have had the Jeff character in this movie, but just have him on an investigation to try and find his wife, while all the while you have the Kerry character on an investigation to find Matthews. I think that would have made for a much more interesting cat and mouse type of movie, to be honest with you, because what we ended up getting on paper, I understood what they're trying to go for. I think the execution is just overall sloppy because, again, I reiterate, the character of Jeff is really, really bad. And established characters like Kerry, she's killed off, unceremoniously just killed off. But her death scene is gruesome because her ribcage gets pulled apart. So her death scene is cool. The character of Rig doesn't really do much in this movie. Not like Rig did anything in the second movie anyway. He's still trying to find his friend Matthews, but that's about it. This movie also introduces us to Detective Hoffman, played by Costas Mondelier. Hoffman doesn't really do anything. He's just there to pretty much establish him because Hoffman becomes an important player in the franchise in the later movies. So pretty much the first 20 minutes of this movie is to kind of, sort of tie up some loose ends from the second movie, while all the while putting putting pieces in place for what's to happen in the future. By doing that, it kind of you're killing off some secondary characters along the way. See, the movie doesn't really get started until we're introduced to the characters of Lynn and Jeff. And again, to be honest with you, I think the stuff with Jeff was really sloppily handled. But I think the stuff with Lynn, Amanda, and Jigsaw John Kramer, that to me is the more strong parts of this movie. This movie fleshes out the relationship that Amanda has with Jigsaw, and I view it as like a father-daughter kind of mentorship. And when Lynn comes into the picture, Amanda, she acts like a jealous daughter because her father Jigsaw is not giving her the attention anymore. And it's also revealed through these flashbacks that pretty much Amanda was John's co-conspirator for the events of the first movie. We find out that she was the one who drugged Adam. She was the one who helped Jigsaw set up the traps within the first movie. So it's revealed that they've been working together since movie number one, ever since Amanda survived her death trap and gained in Jigsaw's perspective a new appreciation of life. That's when Jigsaw took her under his wing and pretty much was shepherding her to take over his mantle. Now, with that being said, Amanda also had her own things, because Amanda was slowly starting to fade away from Jigsaw's philosophy, and Amanda was pretty much creating unwinnable traps that were just meant to just kill the ones that that were meant to kill pretty much. And so Jigsaw, knowing this, did not like that, because Jigsaw's all MO is that Jigsaw is not meant to kill you. He's meant for you to gain a new appreciation of life by the most extreme measures. Amanda was doing the exact opposite, and you can see that Jigsaw, who genuinely wanted Amanda to succeed him, was also realizing that Amanda was not doing what he was training her and teaching her to do. Amanda was doing her own thing, and she wanted to be more of a violent killer, if anything. So I like all that dynamic, and I think the scenes between them is really good. With Lynn performing the surgery, which I think is one of the most gruesome scenes in this movie, is Lynn performing this makeshift surgery with power tools on Jigsaw to try and relieve his brain from a lot of pressure. I think those scenes are very, very visceral and just very, very cringe-worthy, to be honest with you. And I love those scenes, because that's where I think the tension and the suspense is really, really thick, and that's where I think Darren Lynn Bousman really shines, is within those scenes. The stuff with Jeff as he's going through his trial, again, it's good. The death traps are cool. This woman pretty much freezes to death. He saves a criminal judge who was going to pretty much drown in like spoiled pig juice. And when Jeff comes face to face with the man who actually killed his son, he takes forever to forgive this man. And this all has to go just how a lousy of a character Jeff really is. Because so the man that accidentally killed Jeff's son, he was remorseful for his actions. You can see in the flashback that after, this kid, Timothy, killed Jeff's son, he was broken up. He was crestfallen. He couldn't believe what he'd done. And Jeff pretty much took out his rage of the criminal justice system on this kid. Now, the movie tries to play it off as, oh, Jeff, he forgave him. Jeff took way too long to forgive this kid. It didn't take him long enough to forgive the judge, and the judge ended up being saved. Of course, 10 minutes later, the judge gets his face blown off, so what was the point of even saving the judge if just to kill him off? Just like that. I thought it was kind of stupid, to be honest with you. And not only that, it didn't really do much, because the judge character was telling Jeff, listen, don't be consumed by vengeance. It's just going to make the pain grow even greater and greater and greater. And when you get to the end of the movie, Jeff did not learn anything at all. His character did not learn a damn thing. It's like insanity. Jeff just repeats himself over and over again, because clearly these tests that he was put through, he didn't learn a thing. Because when you get to the end of this movie, he has one job. That job is to either forgive John Kramer for torturing him and his wife, or he kills John. However, if he were to kill John, it's already established that Lynn has a gun collar around her neck. If John were to die, then Lynn would get her face blown off. Since John died. Now, all the while, there is this scuffle going on with Amanda and Lynn. And when Jeff arrives, he kind of shoots and kills Amanda. It was during this scene where Jigsaw knew what Amanda was doing and knew that Amanda wasn't following his work, which is why he was showing more attention to Lynn, to the character of Lynn. So Jess comes in, he shoots and kills Jigsaw, and Jigsaw plays a final tape revealing that Jeff's daughter is now being held captive somewhere, and now Jeff has to play another game to find his other kid. So yeah, the character of Jeff, he sucks. He is written like garbage. He learns absolutely nothing from his ordeal. Excuse me. He learns absolutely nothing from his ordeal, and I would have just killed Jeff off at the end of this movie, because what's the point of having him? He is terrible. If anything, this should have been Detective Matthews going through a series of games to try and find his son Daniel again, or just to try, or for Matthews just to try and find his way out, or detectives Carrie, Rigg, and Hoffman working together to try and find Amanda, John, and Matthews. Anything would have been better than what was going on with Jeff, because Jeff's part of the story is extraordinarily weak, and I don't care for it. The stuff with Lynn, Amanda, and Jigsaw, and the relationship that we see form between Jigsaw and Amanda, that stuff is good. And the jealous relationship that Amanda has with Lynn, that stuff was interesting to me. All the other stuff I didn't really care for, to be honest with you. Didn't really do much. So, I mean, and like I said, this movie did subtly hint at, at pieces that were to come. It establishes the character of Hoffman. We get a series of scenes where John starts hallucinating this random blonde woman. Of course, when you watch the later movies, we find out that this blonde woman is actually his wife, Jill Tuck. So it's setting pieces up in place and getting us ready for the next phase of the story. But I think this movie should have focused more on telling a more cohesive third act of its story, instead of a movie that's just overall okay. I think constructively and acting-wise, it's superior to the second movie, but at the same time, it's got its own series of problems that I'm not really a big fan of. But I overall think that Saw 3, even for what it is, it's still pretty good. It's entertaining. And I'm going to give it a solid 7. I'm going to be very, very generous. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, because the stuff with Amanda and John and their development, that's what really makes this movie more interesting to me. And yeah, setting up for what's to come, that stuff was cool too. But the stuff with Jeff and the other characters not being utilized properly, and pretty much Detective Matthews not having a proper resolution, that could have been handled so much better. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Saw 3. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.